There is a male suspect that fled the scene and remains outstanding as of this moment. Our very preliminary description has been described as a male Asian, and that's from the scene here in Monterey Park. We are still in the very early stages of this investigation, and there actually is a lot more that we don't know than what we know at this time.
Heartbreak in Half Moon Bay. 7 people shot and killed in 2 related shootings.
It's something that's unimaginable to happen here in Half Moon Bay.
There's really not much I can say, about the pain that we're feeling right now.
A tight-knit Bay Area community in shock tonight. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Meebeck.
And I'm Julie Hayner. A total of 8 people were shot, 7 of them killed by a gunman in Half Moon Bay. The victims were found at 2 separate locations in Half Moon Bay, a mushroom farm and a nursery off of Highway 92, and another farming business just a short distance away off of Highway 1.
And we have team coverage tonight on this developing story. KTVU's Jenna Katsuyama with community reaction. But first, we go to Zach Sauce with more on exactly what happened and more on the suspect, who tonight, Zach, is in custody.
Well, the arrest of the suspect believed to be behind today's deadly mass shooting here in Half Moon Bay. His arrest happening just down the parking lot from where I'm standing, right outside of a San Mateo Sheriff's Office substation. And law enforcement describing what happened here today, well, they say the fact that it could happen here in Half Moon Bay, it's something they would have called unthinkable.
This kind of shooting is horrific. It's a tragedy that we hear about far too often.
Just one day after a mass shooting rocked the community of Monterey Park, the city of Half Moon Bay facing the unthinkable. 7 people dead, gunned down by a lone shooter.
It was in the afternoon when kids were out of school, and for children to witness this is unspeakable.
The suspected gunman now in custody, 67-year-old Chun-Li Zhao, a Half Moon Bay resident.
Zhao is believed to have acted alone, and there is no further threat to this community.
Just before 2:30 in the afternoon, police discovering 4 gunshot victims dead on Highway 92 near the Spanish Town shops. One other person was rushed to Sanford Medical Center. Then, just about a mile away, 3 other people also discovered shot and killed at Highway 1, where 2 nurseries, including a mushroom farm, are located on the property. Sheriff's deputies believe Zhao worked at one of the businesses. A description of Zhao's vehicle, a maroon SUV, and his license plate setting off a manhunt.
Zhao was located in his vehicle in the parking lot of the sheriff's substation here in Half Moon Bay.
A sheriff's deputy spotting the car just before 5 in the evening. 1 parking spot over, Katie McHugh.
It surprised me to see the officer asking me pretty quietly to get back from my car, and I scooted back a little bit, and then he asked me to get farther back and farther back.
McHugh there as officers quickly surrounded the vehicle.
They had their guns drawn. They approached from behind the car, pretty tight formation, and got up to the car and were probably a few feet behind it, 6 feet behind it or so, and asked him to get out. Took several asks. And then he got out of the car, and eventually he was taken down to the ground by them.
Inside the car, deputies locating a semi-automatic handgun. Zhao taken into custody without incident. Authorities now just trying to understand why. A community desperate for answers before it can begin to heal.
This is a devastating tragedy for this community and the families touched by this unspeakable act of violence.
And sheriff's deputies were out here just a short while ago collecting evidence from Zhao's car. This investigation still very much in its early stages, but they say that Zhao is cooperating. But again, still trying to figure out the motive, the why of why all this happened. Mike?
Hey, Zach, I got to ask you a little bit more on the relationship here between the suspect and the victims. Did deputies tell you, did the sheriff say anything that he just walked onto these properties and fired randomly, or are they certain that maybe he did have some type of relationship with the victims at both crime scenes?
You know, they really didn't go into specifics about his relationships with the victims, what, if any, relationship he might have had with them. But they did point out a key piece of evidence, which they said that they do believe that Zhao was employed at one of the nurseries where this all happened today.
And you mentioned the two crime scenes. Are they looking at anywhere else in Half Moon Bay as a possible third crime scene?
You know, right now they haven't discovered any, and they don't know if there might have been another scene. But given the scale of what happened today, they certainly are still looking to see if there might have been other victims here. And this will certainly be a long evening for them as they investigate.
All right, continuing our coverage right now, let's check in with